Hi, my name is mwryder. This is my presentation for Death, Dying and Grief, which is focused on the nature of children and grief. The unfortunate death of a family member or person close to a child can be a significant disruption to the child's development, worldview, attachment and general well-being. There are many variables which will affect the process and outcome of the child's bereavement, including the child's age, stage of emotional and mental development, the nature of interaction and communication with their family, and their relationship with the person that has died. In this presentation, I'll be focusing on the child's experience of grief, the unique issues which may arise due to the nature of the grief, and strategies for parents and caregivers to assist the child through this period. According to Scott 2007, early studies of childhood bereavement attempted to create a standardized theory which would aid to understand and help children experiencing grief. These models were based on Lindemann's 3 stages of grief: shock and disbelief, acute mourning, and resolution, as well as Kubler-Ross's 5 stages of grief: numbness, denial, anger, blame, and acceptance. These early attempts to create a standardized theory for childhood bereavement were fundamentally flawed due to the nature of being only extrapolations of widely misused models for adults at the time. Other early attempts to understand the child's grieving process included work on attachment theory, which was an inborn system in the brain that evolves in ways that influence and organize motivational, emotional, and memory process with respect to significant caregiving figures. Bowlby linked attachment theory to child grieving process by connecting its functions to predictable reactions within the child. According to Bowlby, proximity to attachment figure provided the child with a safe haven. Accessibility of the attachment figure provided a stable base where the child might be more likely to confidently confront challenges. And separation from the attachment figure triggered separation anxiety, a distress state where the child's energy will be focused on regaining the proximity to the attachment figure. In this regard, a child that has lost this stable base will be unlikely to confront challenges confidently and may tend to isolate from the world. Although this theory helps to give a relational context to the child's grief, according to Scott, there's little evidence to suggest that it may be reliably a predictor to the child's reactions to their caregiver. Contemporary grief stage theories for children are vastly different from earlier models. Certain developmental theories have also been adopted in an attempt to understand the grief process for children, where responses and behaviors of children experiencing grief are linked to their developmental stages. Such theories utilize aspects of Piaget's stages of cognitive development, which include sensory motor, pre-operational, concrete operational, and formal operational. And they link these to how a child will react to death at a certain developmental stage. Example of this is in the concrete operational stage, a child may experience anxiety and fear about death, and in the pre-operational stage, a child may experience emotions such as guilt due to their inability to understand the finality of death. Although theories which adopt aspects of developmental stages may have their benefits, grief is a multi-dimensional response to loss, and development is just a single dimension to the child's grief experience. An important factor to understand is the relationship between the child and the dying. The child's reactions may vary depending on their specific relationship. Of all the deaths the child may experience, the death of a parent is seen to be the most affecting, causing a loss of security, nurture, and affection, a loss of emotional and psychological support upon which the child could formerly rely. Some studies have shown that children who have lost a parent have significantly increased risk of psychiatric disorders and may also experience considerable psychological and social difficulties throughout childhood and later in adult life. According to Goldman, the nature in which the person close to the child has died may significantly affect on child's reactions and grieving process. Deaths that are experienced and sudden, such as suicides, can have complications. So in some circumstances, the child may believe that they've played a role in their death, and feelings of guilt may manifest within the child. Contemporary understanding of a child's coping strategies, according to Ott and Bruns, deriving comfort by seeking comfort from others, denying at times the impact of the loss, adhering to familiar activities and routines, using fantasies to alleviate aspects of loss, and as a child enters the adolescence, their coping strategies change and tend to focus more on effective behavioral coping strategies like expressing feelings, problem solving, and help seeking. When children develop into further adolescence, they begin to display and engage in cognitive coping strategies, for example, searching for a meaning to the loss, positive reappraisal, and a degree of acceptance of the loss. Children possess a complicated and multidimensional system of evolving mechanisms and strategies for coping with and experiencing grief and loss. And although parental support may be impacted due to themselves having to cope with trauma of their own loss, parental and caregiver support is crucial in this period of their life to help them understand and transition through this period while mitigating as much harm as possible. According to the Australian Centre of Grief and Bereavement, some guidance and support strategies that can be adopted include reassuring that the child's basic needs will be taken care of, their pain will decrease over time, maintain routines such as much as possible. This will help the child create a sense of safety and stability. Provide the child an outlet to express their grief in their own unique way. This can be done through collage, music, painting, drawing, storytelling, writing letters, creating memory boxes, and allowing the child to tell you what they mean instead of analysing them yourself. This allows the child to express feelings which may not be concrete otherwise. Also, employing active listening and patience while providing clear answers that the child understands, and trying to be consistent and allow the child to work through their grief at their own pace. Also, be aware of the child's perceptions of death by asking them questions concerning the person who has died. Guide them to understand that the person who has died is not coming back, while reassuring them that the person deceased is not in pain. It's important to avoid metaphors such as lost and gone to sleep, as this may be confusing for the child who may take the metaphor literally. Also, try and resist to fix the child's grief and avoidance or distractions. Try and model healthy expressions of grief which will allow the child to acknowledge that it's fine to do the same. Personally, reflecting on this topic, I can sympathise and understand with the need for parents to protect their children from emotional experiences and the emotional journey of grief for the child, and wanting them to spare them from the harmful effects that may arise from it, especially when the parent or caregiver is dealing with their own trauma from the loss. It's clear though that the child grieving process is multidimensional and highly individualized, changing in nature depending on variables such as child's developmental stage, relationship to the dying, and the nature of the passing. I believe that guiding the child constructively to explore their feelings, helping them gain understanding of their loss, and employing patience and active listening is an essential role for parents, caregivers, and respective health professionals in order to aid the child through this highly sensitive period. I'll leave on this question: where does the harmony lie between protecting from additional pain to the bereaved child and exploring their feelings about death? Thanks for your time.